Okay, good morning. The April 25th, 2023 Veterans Land Board meeting will come to order. The meeting of the Veterans Land Board is being held in person at 1700 North Congress Avenue, Stephen F. Austin Building. Access to the meeting by members of the public was published in advance in the Texas Register in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Any member of the public who wishes to address the Veterans Land Board may do so during the public comment period. Public comments would be limited to 2 minutes at approval of the chair. First item on the agenda is item number 1, approval of the minutes from the February 17th, 2023 Veterans Land Board meeting. Any discussion before we?
No, they're fine. I've read them, and I move approval.
All right, and they pass. No objection. The minutes are approved. Item number 2, public comment period. Members of the public may address the Veterans Land Board concerning any matter within the authority of the board. As chairwoman, I am limiting the length of time available to each speaker to 2 minutes. The board secretary shall keep track of time. Do we have anyone in attendance who wishes to submit public comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move to item number 3, consideration and possible action on resident roommates in the David A. Gloyer Texas State Veterans Home Program and other matters in connection therewith. The chair recognizes Monica Galuski to present item number 3 to the board.
Good afternoon. I'm Monica Galuski, the Director of VLB Bond Funds Management. This one's going to be a little bit long, so sorry, bear with me. This item proposes a room rate increase for 5 of the 9 homes in the Texas State Veterans Home Program. If approved, this action will not increase the out-of-pocket costs to the residents of the homes. Excluded from this action are veterans with a service disability rating of 70% or higher and Medicare residents, as the VA and Medicare reimburse the state for the cost of their care. The Veterans Home Program is self-supporting and has been financially strong over the years. Room rate increases used to be fairly regular. The rates were increased annually between 2009 and 2012, and then held until 2016, when VLB was able to reduce rates by $3 a day due to high occupancy levels and stable expenses. Rates were again raised in 2018, with increases of $8 and $4 a day for private and semi-private rooms, respectively. Then came COVID, which negatively impacted the financial stability of the program. Occupancy levels decreased, reducing revenues, while at the same time expenses increased dramatically, particularly the cost of temporary contract nurses used to supplement operator staff. While occupancy has recovered to pre-pandemic levels, many expenses remain high, including the cost for nurses, which drives up the contract rates for the operators of the homes. As a result, we're projecting negative net revenues beginning in fiscal year 2027. Staff is proposing a room rate increase at 5 homes, syncing those increases to VA per diem increases, beginning with a $2.80 VA per diem increase that became effective April 1st of this year. Why just these 5 homes? Because we can increase rates at these homes without increasing the out-of-cost to the veterans. We can't do that at the remaining 4 homes due to the way the VA per diem works. The VA per diem is the amount contributed by the VA toward a veteran's stay in the state veteran's home. It's credited to the accounts of the veterans at each home, reducing the out-of-pocket costs for their care. For example, if a veteran's room rate is $150 and the VA per diem is $125, these are all daily, the veteran pays $25 a day out of pocket. And if the VA per diem were simply a stated amount, like in that example, we could increase rates at all 9 homes without impacting the out-of-pocket expenses to the veterans. But the VA per diem is the lesser of. It's the lesser of the stated per diem amount, which was $127.17 until March 30th, or a calculated per diem amount. And that calculation is performed in accordance with VA requirements for each home, and it takes into account a variety of direct and indirect costs. 5 homes, the 5 we're proposing an increase at, received the full stated per diem because it's less than the calculated per diem amount. Those homes are Amarillo, Big Spring, Bonham, Houston, and Tyler. On April 1st of 2023, the VA per diem was increased by $2.80, taking it from $127.17 to $129.97. If we increase room rates by these 5 homes, at these 5 homes by $2.80 a day, the increase in the VA per diem will offset that increase, resulting in a net $0 out of pocket to the veterans and the residents. But residents in the El Paso, Floresville, McAllen, and Temple homes, where the calculated per diem is less than the stated dollar amount per diem, they don't receive that credit of up to March 30th, $127.17. They receive their calculated monthly per diem for each of their homes, and that's been ranging between $112 and $123 per day. An increase to the rates at those homes would have no offset. They're still going to receive between $112 and $123 a day. So that's why we're not recommending a room rate increase for those homes, because it would increase the out-of-pocket to the veterans there. Staff recommends that the board increase resident room rates in the Amarillo, Big Spring, Bonham, Houston, and Tyler homes for the remainder of fiscal year 2023 and during fiscal year 2024, each time the VA increases the per diem, with the dollar amount of each increase equal to the dollar amount of the per diem increase. The first rate increase would be implemented June 1st of 2023 in the amount of $2.80 per day, reflecting the April 1st increase and allowing for a 30-day notice to the residents. Additional rate increases will be effective as close to but not earlier than the effective dates of the VA's per diem increases. And there is a schedule in your packet that shows the historical VA per diem increases. And we've had 2 in fiscal year 2023. We had 2 in fiscal year 2022. And they kind of range in amount. They're a little bit all over the board. But this would allow us to take advantage of each time the VA increases their per diem, we can do a corresponding increase at these 5 homes, because they're the only 5 where it won't impact the veterans. So, concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions. Yes.
Yes.
I have a couple of questions. Monica, thank you for that explanation, and you answered one of my questions, but I'm still curious about going forward, what happens with the 4 homes where you can't apply this per diem increase?
At this point, we're just planning to monitor them and see if they get to a point where they are receiving the full per diem. But my understanding with this item was that, we're hoping to achieve rate increases that aren't impacting the out-of-pocket the veterans are paying.
Well, I certainly endorse not putting additional burden on the veterans who are in the homes, but I'm just wondering about the fiscal impact as our costs increase without being able to utilize the VA incremental increase.
Right. And that's obviously a
determined.
decision for you all.
Okay, so we'll continue looking at this and we go forward. No further questions, Madam Chair. I'm ready, and you may have some.
All right. Yeah, well, I just want to summarize for people watching, because it is very confusing. We're basically doing everything we can to be sure that our veterans don't have additional out-of-pocket expenses while matching reimbursement rates and cost of care. Is that a decent summary? Okay. Okay, no other questions? I hear a
Okay.
motion to approve.
No, I move approval of the staff recommendation, or adoption of the staff recommendation.
Okay, without any opposition, I believe it passes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Item number 4, consideration and possible adoption of a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of State of Texas Veterans Bonds, Series 2023, in one or more series and installments, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $250 million, and providing for other matters relating to this subject. The chair recognizes John Tomei. Thomas, you know what, I asked you that earlier and then I got it wrong. I went the wrong way. I had a 50-50 shot, sorry.
That's okay. I prefer people to think I'm a little bit fancier than I actually am. Good afternoon. I'm John Tommy. I'm a portfolio manager for the Veterans Land Board. Approval of this agenda item will authorize the issuance and sale of up to $250 million in taxable new money general obligation bonds in the Veterans Housing Program during 2023. Under similar authority provided to staff at July of 2022 meeting, on April 20th of this year, 2023, the board closed on a $250 million of State Veterans Bonds Series 2023. The issue was structured as a variable rate with a swap to synthetically fix the interest rates on the bonds. The swap was provided by Bank of New York Mellon, and liquidity provider was State Street Bank. The Series 23 taxable bonds are expected to be substantially similar in structure, but with key differences between the 2023 non-taxable, or excuse me, the tax-exempt deal. Liquidity will be provided by the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts. A form of their liquidity facility is in your binder. It's slightly different than what we've done with prior liquidity providers. The current higher interest rate environment has led to a significant reduction in prepayments from borrowers. Prepayments are received from borrowers selling their homes early, making extra principal payments, and refinancing into new loans. The board historically relied on routine new money issuance of $250 million tax-exempt bond authority coupled with prepayments to meet the veteran demand. While there has been a significant reduction in prepayments, we have not seen a significant decrease in demand for loans. Staff expects this issue to close late June or early July. Staff recommends that the board authorize the issuance of up to $250 million in taxable new money general obligation bonds for the Veterans Housing Assistance Program with a final maturity no later than June 1st, 2055, and a bond tick no greater than 6%. Happy to answer any questions.
Madam Chair, this is one of the items when I read the materials that impressed me, because the staff is being very proactive, looking ahead and realizing that the normal flow of funds is not going to happen because the interest rates are too high, so nobody refinances. So instead of using the tax-free bonds, which I think I've passed the $1 billion club where we've done 4 of these so far. One of my few claims to fame to have spent a lot of money, but to proceed in this manner with developing additional funding through taxable because of the legal limits on the tax-free bonds, I think is a very wise thing to do, and I'm happy to endorse it. And I would move adoption of the staff recommendation. The resolution, which is in our packet, is probably a little more wordy on this, but where we would authorize the issuance of up to $250 million in taxable new money general obligation bonds in the Housing Assistance Program, with a final maturity of the bonds not to exceed June the 1st, 2055, and with a bond TIC that does not exceed 6%.
Well, thank you. I hear a motion, and I second that, so it passes by unanimous consent. On to item number 5. Thank you. Consideration and possible adoption of a first supplemental resolution for the following series of bonds issued by the board. Veterans Land Board of the State of Texas Taxable Refunding Series 213C, 214B-1, 214C-1, 214C-2, 214B-3, 214C-3, and 214C-4 bonds, and providing for other matters relating to this subject. Chair recognizes John Barton to present item number 5 to the board.
Good afternoon, thank you. John Barton, Portfolio Manager for Bond Funds Management. So VLB has the 7 series of floating rate notes that were mentioned. They are all structured on an index of 1-month LIBOR. The LIBOR rate is ceasing to be published on June 30th, 2023, thus a need to change to a new index, which will be the SOFR index. So the staff would recommend board authorize the resolutions to facilitate the amending the index rate calculation for the bonds to replace LIBOR with the SOFR index. And happy to answer any questions.
I have two, one technical question and one sort of substantive. We have a series of different bonds and refunding series and resolutions. Do we need to do them separately, or can we do them collectively?
I believe.
They were posted collectively. You can do them as one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine to do them all. I mean, of course, the board can pull things out if they're not comfortable with particular things, but otherwise, yes, because they're posted this manner, you can do them all, if the board so wishes, do them all collectively.
Perfect.
As one.
And then the one substantive question is, there's a note in the, or some text in the material that indicates there's a $1 billion bondholder that we don't know who they are. And I'm just kind of wondering if there's something in our system that we need to take a look at so we would know that.
So there's nothing that we could do to do it. It's through a kind of intermediary, and we have tracked down the intermediary, and they're reaching out to their bondholder specifically. So we're working on that.
A middleman.
Yes.
That explains it.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much. Well, I understand it, and Madam Chair, I move approval of the collective package of Texas veteran bonds in the refunding series so that they can have a supplemental resolution, and they are 213C all the way ranging through 214C4 in the list that we have of 7 different bonds.
Thank you. I second that. It passes by unanimous consent. Next item on the agenda is item number 6, consideration and possible action to set aside bids received from the online bidding forfeited land sale held April 20th, 2023, on any track where the account holder is making an appeal. And the chair recognizes Raul Gonzalez to present item number 6 to the board.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name is Raul Gonzalez, Deputy Director of the Veterans Land Board, Land and Housing Loan Programs. On item number 6 will become a non-action item. There are no appeals before the board today.
That's good, I guess, sort of, in a way. All right, so no action at this time. Any other questions before we move to item number 7?
No.
All right, Mr. Gonzalez, you're back up for consideration and possible action to accept and award all qualifying high bids received from the online bidding forfeited land sale held on April 20th, 2023.
There were 5 tracts offered during the online bidding period between March 6th and April 20th. We received a total of 133 bids, resulting in 5 high bids totaling just a little bit over $775,000. Staff is recommending that the board award all high bids and meet qualifications for the land program. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
No questions. This is an action item. We have to.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Madam Chair, I move adoption of the staff recommendation to award the all qualified high bids.
All right, and I second, and it passes with unanimous consent. Next item on the agenda is item number 8, consideration and possible action on request to forfeit VLB delinquent land account. And Mr. Gonzalez, you're back up for item number 8.
Staff is requesting that the board take action on the resolution before you, except on accounts where sufficient funds are received to avoid that action. 4 accounts are being presented for action today, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
No questions. It's always surprising to me that we have accounts that go into default when they have such a small remaining balance.
On that one particular, the veteran is deceased, and so there is the account was in probate. Tax sale took place, and there is a third party that will be.
Very good. Madam Chair, I move approval of the staff recommendation.
All right, I second your motion. It passes with unanimous consent. On to item number 9, consideration and possible action on request to order for sale land tracts that may be included in the next online bidding forfeited land sale. And Mr. Gonzalez, you're back up for item number 9.
Staff is requesting that the board take action on the resolution before you. The resolution lists accounts to be considered for order for sale today. These 5 accounts will become the next tracts for the next forfeited land sale. We're requesting the board's authority to pull any account that reinstates prior to the sale date. Be happy to answer any questions.
No questions. I move approval of the staff recommendation to order these 5 parcels for sale.
Thank you. I second. It passes with unanimous consent. Item number 10, consideration of possible action to set the next quarterly electronic forfeited land sale bidding period to begin June 5th, 2023 through July 20th, 2023 at 5 p.m. Mr. Gonzalez?
All right. Staff's requesting that the board set the next quarterly forfeited land sale bidding period beginning June the 5th, 2023 at 8 a.m. with a bidding deadline of July 20th, 2023 at 5 p.m.
Any questions?
No questions. Move approval of the staff recommendation to, as stated.
Strong work. I second that, and again, we pass with unanimous consent. Next item on the agenda is item number 11, consideration and possible action on an expansion grant application for the Central Texas State Veterans Cemetery in Killeen. And the chair recognizes Dr. Kelly. And before you present item number 11 to the board, I understand we have some special guests with us.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for pausing in our agenda. I'd like to explain to you that there are 4 reasons why we are able to achieve and maintain extremely high standards at all 4 of our cemeteries, and high standards in terms of appearance, and high standards in terms of operations and how we honor our veterans and their families. Those 4 reasons are here today. The Chief of the On-Site Representatives and OSR for the Central Texas State Veterans Cemetery in Killeen, Command Sergeant Major Doug Galt, U.S. Army, retired. The OSR from the Coastal Bend State Veterans Cemetery in Corpus Christi, Petty Officer First Class Alfredo Freddie Medina, U.S. Navy, retired. The OSR from the Rio Grande Valley State Veterans Cemetery, U.S. Army veteran George Rice. And the OSR from the Texas State Veterans Cemetery at Abilene, Chief Petty Officer Craig Wooten, U.S. Navy, retired. These are your cemetery OSRs.
Thank you, gentlemen, for all your hard work. And I have to say, you do an exceptional job with these cemeteries, so we really appreciate you. Dr. Kelly, would you like to present item number 11 to the board?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Item number 11 is a request from staff for your approval to submit a grant application for an expansion grant at the Killeen Cemetery. Each year, the NCA only takes grants on one particular day. It's the 1st of July. And their guidance to us is when you're within 4 years of exhaustion of any of the burial types, you submit an expansion grant. Looking forward to 1 July this year, at that time, we're going to be slightly over 4 years of casket space remaining and slightly over 4 years of columbarium space remaining. So we want to put the grant application together to be submitted not later than the 1st of July. And as you see listed, these are the items that'll be on there, about 5,400 crypts. And let me just explain, when the NCA asks us to do a grant, they want us to build for 10 years into the future. That's why that number is so large. The good news for us is it means we don't have to come around so often to do grant requests. So 5,400 pre-positioned crypts, 4,000 columbarium niches. We are requesting to add a second committal shelter. The one we have right now is at max capacity. And so we anticipate in ensuing years we're going to need to go beyond that capacity. We certainly want to integrate Space Force as we're doing now in our construction projects across all of the cemeteries. We want to put in automatic closing gates to enhance our security. And there's an old grant request from 2016 to expand our admin building, our administration building, that has never been fulfilled. We're pulling that one forward and putting it into this grant request as well. And then, of course, all the associated grading, drainage, irrigation, sodding, all those activities. Staff recommends approval. Staff recommends that you approve the submission of a grant that will total somewhere between 10 and 12 million. We don't have the numbers locked down quite yet, but we will in the next 3 weeks.
Thank you. Any questions?
One technical question. A pre-positioned crypt sounds like a good military term for something. I assume this is like a liner that is put in place and.
Yes, sir. So in a traditional casket space, we dig a hole down 8 feet, and in that we put that concrete box, that grave liner. In pre-positioned crypt concepts, instead we dig a gigantic hole and we go ahead and put all the concrete boxes in there, and then we cover them all back over, we sod and we landscape. So when we start to use that area, we're only digging down 2 feet to the lid of that box, removing it and conducting the interment. Results in far less wear and tear on our equipment. We're able to place better irrigation using the system as well. And of course, all the appropriate markers are there to help us find the correct box, et cetera. They actually don't do the old style casket space anymore. It's an NCA directive to go to pre-positioned crypts from here on out.
It's amazing. It's very efficient and just continually good things that I hear about our cemetery program. I'm impressed. And this particular one, you need to have a a motion to submit the application, correct?
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I move that we authorize the submission of the expansion grant for the Texas State Veterans Cemetery in Killeen.
Thank you. I second that. It passes with unanimous consent. Item number 12, consideration and possible action on a contract for engineering and design of the Lubbock Cemetery. And we are very excited that we kind of squeaked in at the tail end. And I know your team has been literally doing flip-flops on a very short time frame to get this accomplished for Lubbock. So, Dr. Kelly, please present item 12.
Yes, ma'am.
to the
Thank you
board.
very much. As you all know, we got notice of a receipt of our grant. It was a reduced scope grant for the development and establishment of a new state veteran cemetery in Lubbock. Normally, you would find out about these opportunities in the beginning of the federal fiscal year in October. We found out in February, very late February, actually. So what we're trying to do is compress 12 months of activity down into 7. As you might expect, we're 4 sheets to the wind in terms of the flurry of activity that's ongoing right now. One of those activities, and the phase that we're in right now, is called the architectural and engineering phase, which is all about designing this thing, not just from the bigger picture of the where the streets are, et cetera, but all the way down to the level of where every irrigation pipe goes and what kind of valve is on the end of that pipe. That's the level of detail that the design will get to. The output product of that phase goes to procurement and becomes the statewide bid piece of this, and that's that procurement phase. We have to get all of that done along with some administrative processing, and we have to get that done by the 30th of September. So time is very tight on this one. And to get that first phase going, which leads to the second phase as well as grant award, we've got to get going with architectural and engineering. So staff is requesting approval of a $1,062,039.48 contract for architectural and engineering services in support of the design for the new State Veterans Cemetery in Lubbock. This money will be fully reimbursable once we get the grant on the 30th of September. Staff recommends that you approve it.
I have an item for Dr. Kelly. First of all, it makes me feel good that Texas is able to take advantage of the money that otherwise would have gone to other states, because the NCA figured if anybody can do it, Texas could. So congratulations to you and to your staff for having the reputation that you're the person they call. And I just forgot what the other aspect of it was, but Madam Chair, I would move that we approve the engineering and design contract for the Lubbock Cemetery design as stated.
Thank you. I second that, and it passes with unanimous consent. Item number 13, the Texas State Veterans Cemetery Program Quarterly Update. For information only, no action will be required. Dr. Kelly.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. As before, I've got this sort of broken into some clusters. The first one is VA developments. While we're talking about Lubbock and Killeen expansions, we have to remember we're also expanding at Corpus at virtually the same time. That is moving along very well. We've done our 65% design review, and we're not far away from a 95% design review for Corpus. Similar to the way I just described at Lubbock, once that is done and that design is set, then it goes out for procurement, statewide bidding, all those kinds of things. Do not anticipate any delays on that one. We've got, dare I say, the luxury of time on that one, in that we've got 6 months to finish that up. In terms of the new state cemetery in Lubbock, as I mentioned, we're proceeding on a very tight timeline, but it is on track. We have instituted biweekly reporting, including several divisions within the GLO, with the City of Lubbock, with the architectural and engineering firm, and the NCA is also participating in our biweekly report progress. That's to allow us to look across lines of efforts to see where there are roadblocks that affect other entities as they move forward in their work. We've already talked about the grant application for Killeen. As a reminder, we will be undergoing a VA operational inspection at our Coastal Bend State Veteran Cemetery in Corpus on the 2nd and 3rd of May next week. In terms of VLB initiatives, the in-ground cremated remains construction project is complete at complete at Killeen and nearly complete at both Corpus and Abilene. I've mentioned before the Getting to Know Your State Veteran Cemetery media articles. They are continuing in development. We've got some more interviews ongoing right now. Hope to get those published shortly. Many of you are aware of the road resurfacing project that we did at Abilene recently. We're now pursuing similar quotes at the other 3 cemeteries as well, so we can get our roads resurfaced and looking appropriate for the setting that they are in. Vietnam Monument was under construction for Abilene. However, the manufacturer made a mistake. This was supposed to be 7 blocks offset by 15-degree angles. The manufacturer forgot the 15-degree angles and has built the monument, but it will not go on the base for which it was intended. They're going to correct that, but the good news is the vendor can't do anything else with what they've already manufactured. They've now agreed to donate it to the Rio Grande Valley State Veteran Cemetery in Mission. So that mismanufactured, and I hate to use that word because it actually is still a beautiful monument. It just wasn't to the specs that it needed to be at Abilene. So the monument that was incorrectly built will be donated to the cemetery at Mission. All we have to do is build a pad and then transport it down. And then we're still on track to get the correct monument at Abilene, probably in the June to July timeframe. And we kind of wanted that because we wanted to get it a little bit away from Memorial Day so we wouldn't distract from that, and of course Flag Day as well. But that's on track. We do have 4 war monuments under development for the Coastal Bend State Veteran Cemetery. That'll be a World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and then we're combining Persian Gulf, Afghanistan, and Iraq onto one monument as well. Those are on track for a delivery in June at Corpus, and of course we'll arrange an unveiling ceremony for that as well. We conducted an experiment recently at Abilene, and we installed solar-powered lights at the top of each of the flag poles on what's called the Avenue of Flags. So that's the entrance road where you come in. And at the other 3 cemeteries, we're installing those as well along the entrance and exit roads. And the reason for that is so that we can fly American flags on those flag poles at night. I included a picture for you in here. I hope you got a chance to see it. It's a beautiful sight, which kind of leads to the next item under the items of interest. We're going to highlight that during Memorial Day this year. So we're instituting some changes for Memorial Day, and the first one is going to be a roll call for all KIA and MIA personnel interred at each cemetery. They'll be included in the official ceremony. So there'll be their names will be read and a short description of how they were killed in action or became missing in action. And that's a way for us to highlight the true purpose of Memorial Day, which is to honor those who fell in battle. In addition, we will be lighting up those flags that I just mentioned through the Avenue of the Flags, and then we're going to light up all of those killed in action and missing in action headstones. And of course, because we're lighting them up and they're visible after dark, we're going to extend gate hours as well so that people can come and view what I believe is going to be a beautiful setting with the Avenue of Flags lights lit up and then all the KIA and MIA headstones lit up. So we'll be doing that this year for the first time. That idea actually came through one of our on-site representatives who has a buddy that works at one of the American cemeteries in Belgium, where they do this every year, and it was such a wonderful idea, we thought we would integrate it into our activities as well. And then finally, Flag for Flag concept was born last year at the Coastal Bend State Veteran Cemetery in Corpus. And the idea is any member of the public that has a worn, torn, faded, unserviceable American flag could exchange that for a new one. And then we at the cemetery will take all the unserviceable flags and properly retire them on Flag Day, 14 June. It was such wonderfully received last year, over 2,000 flags were turned in the Corpus Christi area. Wonderful patriotic statement, so the idea this year was let's expand that across all 4 cemeteries. And so those activities are undergoing right now. Of course, it involves some fundraising through some 501c3s to actually pay for the flags. And then, of course, we at the cemetery will collect all the unserviceable flags and take care of them on Flag Day. Subject to your questions.
Madam Chair, we actually have a cemeteries board also. And several months ago, I participated in that, and we were having a regular meeting, and after that we had a cemeteries board. And I'm curious how often we meet, and since this is a report about the state cemeteries program and the status of that, is this also being presented to the cemeteries board? Or I'm just kind of curious about how this fits together with us. It's
Yes,
part
sir.
of our
According to
program.
the Texas Natural Resources Code, we are to have, it is a multi-agency board composed of you all, along with some members from the Texas Veterans Commission. There is no set frequency on when it meets, but its remit is to review the up to 7 locations for state veteran cemeteries, and we have 4. We're building a 5th one. So it is meant to pick where the next location should be, what the size of each cemetery is as well, and then it's to review the eligibility for interment.
Interesting. Well, that's Dr. Kelly, you have an amazing program. And to the extent that there's anything, speaking for myself only, anything we can do to support it, I'm happy to do that. And if there's something that I can do or the rest of us can do to participate in that board to assist you, I'm happy to do it.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I would like to make an open invitation to you all, as well as anyone listening at home. If you don't have plans for Memorial Day, please plan on coming to your nearest state veteran cemetery. And if you can, come back after dark that night and take a look at what we're doing this year for the first time ever.
Very good. Thank you.
All right.
Nothing further.
This being an informational item only, no action or vote will be taken at this time. That concludes the posted board agenda. Any board member wish to be recognized to provide any further comments or discussion? No? All right, there being no further business before the Veterans Land Board, the April 25th, 2023 meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.